All right, Mormons, a hypothetical scenario for you. And uh, you're a member of the church. You've been loyal to the church. You've been born and raised in the church. You've done everything you're supposed to do. And then you have a bishop who comes to you one day and says, you need to be silent about uh, suggesting that the Book of Mormon is the official doctrine of the church, or you can't come back to church anymore. Those are your only options. You either get silenced and withdraw your YouTube video, or you can't go to church. Now, is he giving you a choice? Oh, yes, 2 choices to choose from. Yay! I have free agency. No. You are being threatened with your liberty. Do you understand that? Your church liberty is in jeopardy. Now, the law can't touch him because it's a religious matter. You know, religion has the right to do whatever they want with their members as long as they don't commit a actual crime of, violence or sexual harassment or, stuff like that. But to threaten a member to not publish something that a leader says you can't do that, and if you are familiar, the Book of Mormon is the official doctrine of the Mormon Church. Remember that, Mormons? So what is your bishop doing? And he's not giving you another option to choose from. Either stop preaching the Word of God or leave the church. And the law can't touch him. What do? Well, if you don't know me, I left the church. I didn't go back. And then I studied church history, and I'm definitely not going back. Because I didn't study other people's information and just believe whatever they told me to believe. I took philosophy of science as my dual bachelor's degree. And so I know how to do research. Plus, the university also taught me how to do research for the reports and papers that I had to turn in for class assignments. And so a paper at the University of Lethbridge in Canada was on the par with a thesis paper, though a lot shorter. And I don't think people realize that, because I would tell people here in Utah, oh yeah, I did a paper for a class assignment, and they go, oh, that means nothing. Well, yeah, maybe at BYU it means nothing. But in the University of Lethbridge, it meant something. You were graded on your research quality, not just your regurgitation, like they do here in the United States. In the United States, they only require that you be able to memorize well. And so valedictorians and salutatorians, they're among the best memorizers of their particular school for that graduating year. That's all it is. That's the award that you get for being a good memorizer. So I'm going off topic here. In the church, that kind of abuse shouldn't be tolerated. That's not how you run an effective church. By saying, hey, wait a minute, isn't this supposed to be our doctrine? Isn't this what Jesus wanted me to do? Isn't this what Jesus would want you to do? See, when you start doing that to leaders, leaders get offended. How dare you challenge my authority? And that's what the church does on a whole. There's Elder Oaks given a PBS documentary, or was it a BBC documentary? I think it was a BBC documentary, in which he said, "You cannot criticize the brethren, even if the criticism is correct or true." I don't know if I have easy access to that, to put it in here, but yeah, he's on record as having said that. He's now in the presidency, the first presidency of the church. And so the church doesn't want anybody challenging them. So what would Jesus do? Well, the Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes, he rebuked them. Is it Matthew 23? I believe so. Matthew 23, Jesus just goes off. He loses all control. He just rips them a new one. Hypocrites, blind fools, blind guides, I think, actually. But yeah, he just rips into them. He's had enough of their abuse of him when he is peacefully assembled with believers. The leaders stepped in and said, "Hey, we are the authorities. You don't have authority to run your own group." I had that experience in the older singles ward. We only had one elders quorum, one relief society, and one classroom for Sunday school. We were the biggest singles ward, and even, dare I say, ward, in the whole church. Every Sunday, the cultural hall packed at least halfway. And that's how big the attendance was. The stake president was getting mega bucks from our sacrament meeting attendances. That's how the church used to give money, is the number of people who attend sacrament meeting. And so, unfortunately, the stake president did not give that money to us to use for the singles, for activities and programs and stuff like that. No, he gave it to the elderly ward instead, so that they can have their finery. And you'd think, oh, well, then there's no big deal with that. Well, no, there's a big deal, because sacrament attendance is supposed to determine the budget for that particular ward. If people aren't attending, it's supposed to be an incentive to get people attending, so that they can get these activities and stuff like the Christmas program or activity or whatever else they can do in the church. The road shows, for example, used to have that budgeted for that, and then they did away with road shows. And other traveling trips, and they've done away with traveling trips beyond a certain mileage away from the ward boundaries. So yeah, and when I was a priest in Southern California, our priest quorum leader, not the bishop, the priest quorum leader, and so he was more like the scout leader. He took us down to Tijuana, and then to Rosarita Beach, where a church was there, and we brought some donated clothes to give to the church down there. And so, yeah, we were able to go through customs, border crossing, with no challenge to our immigration status. You know me, I look like a terrorist, don't I? And so, yeah, we had no problems, because we said, oh yeah, we went down to such and such to give clothes to the poor. So, okay, go on in. Oh, that's what you did? All right, come back. no problem. But can't do that these days. You're doing what? We ain't helping them. They're the enemy. They're invading. We need to gas them. But yeah, I mean, guys, you got to recognize what abuse is. When you are given a dichotomy of choice, and I had to explain the definition to a police officer today. So that's why I'm doing this video, is because of that traumatic experience today. The other officer threatened me, which was why I was calling to complain. And after a month of responding, after finally responding, I then get threatened by the officer. What's up with that? I'm filing a complaint, and I, the victim, am being victim blamed. I'm being victimized as a victim by the police here in Utah. And so, yeah, my audience is Mormon, but I'm pretty sure they were Mormon. And so, yeah, the abusive officer, not the one who didn't see any abuse. I didn't see any abuse. If she were abusive, I would have called her. I would protect you. Yeah, but you didn't see her. And so she said that she had a camera and that it was running. I hope it has audio, because I made sure to contact the mayor of West Valley City. And I also called him after sending the email, because I know him. He's in the area. I know where he lives. I can go knock on his door and say hi. Yeah, I let him know about the body cam footage and asked whoever's department it is to investigate that, officer complaints, to investigate the officer complaint of mine and to look at the body cam footage so that they can hear the officer make the threat. It's just unbelievable. And so, yeah, I was given a dichotomy of choices today by the officers on behalf of the people I was complaining about, who were also giving me a dichotomy of choices. My liberty has been threatened. I have no choice. Either choice is no liberty. I don't get liberty on either choice. And so that's not a choice to make. My rights are being violated. And in this particular case with me, it's not like the bishop example that I gave, which also is a personal experience, because that's why I was kicked out of the church. Not excommunicated. Bishops don't have authority to excommunicate members, or at least not Melchizedek priesthood members. The stake president said, I don't see anything why I should excommunicate you for. I'm not going to do it, but I'm not going to do anything to the bishop either. So yeah, I had both experiences of given a dichotomy of choice, which is no choice. And with the officers, with my complaint that I had, not only was I denied liberty in both options, which were the only two options I was given, but the options were to put my life in jeopardy. Because if I do the one option, my life's in jeopardy. If I do the other option, my life is also in jeopardy. It's like a guy holds you hostage and says, with the gun pointed at you, deny the church is true or I'll shoot you. Well, if you deny the church is true, he's gonna shoot you anyway. You know, if it's, give me your wallet or I'll shoot you. You give him your wallet, he shoots you. Why? Because you are a witness. You've seen him. You know what he looks like. So he has to kill you in order to silence you. And that's what they also do. Don't tell the police, otherwise we'll kill your child who we have hostage. You've seen it on the movies. You guys know this. And yet it's going on right here in Utah. I wish I would have had the camera running for this. But the officer said her camera was on. And so I hope the mayor responds and passes it on to the appropriate department, and that they take it seriously and examine the body cam footage, and that they don't brush it off as, oh, I don't see any threat. It's perfectly fine and normal to give two options to take away his liberty, and then dies on either option he's forced to choose from. I don't see a crime in that. Crime isn't crime. And the male officer, who was trying to play the good cop, where obviously the female officer with the body cam was trying to play the bad cop. They need to work on that, I think. She had the bad cop down good. She was brilliant in that. But the good cop, he needs practice. But he said, there are things that just aren't fair. And then I responded as he was walking out the door, that's a grievance. Because I had brought up to him my First Amendment right to petition for a redress of grievances. And when he said, there are things that just aren't fair, I threw the Constitution in his face. He is to protect and serve me, that my constitutional rights don't get violated. And he didn't see that he was participating in the violation of my rights to life, liberty, and property. All of my possessions are in jeopardy as well. So there's a phone call. Maybe it's the mayor. So I'll end it here.